Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is April the 22nd, 2015. My name is Eric Peterson, and joining me today is...
Derek Scable.
Oh, jump the gun. Look at this.
Gotta get in there when you can.
You got a natural.
Yep. Yep, just one of these, whatever.
Derek's back.
I didn't know if you were introducing me there, so I was just...
I was going through this thought process because I was watching the Twitch stream, and then I noticed the header was wrong, and I found another thing that I didn't change.
Oh, well...
So it says episode 45 on the stream, but it's 46, so I got caught in that limbo. So I appreciate you jumping in to pick it up.
Okay, well, guys, I'm Derek, back again from the first discussing Disc 1, and all the way from the great nation of Canada.
That's your cue, Kevin!
Oh, I'm also from the great nation of Canada.
Derek's not from...
My name is Kevin.
No, I was trying to introduce you. I was like...
I thought you were introducing yourself.
No,
now it makes way more sense.
I'm pretty close. I'm from Minnesota, but I'm not that far north, eh?
Hey.
Okay, now I understand. Now it's like I'm coming down the aisle.
Yeah, you got it. You're a little late. You had to finish off what was in the flask, but you got there.
Yeah, there you go. So now I'm here, ready to drop Final Fantasy bombs.
Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome to me. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are, again, live streaming this. So, as we continue the Mana Tank rebrand, more and more things start happening. Talkin' Reckless is now official. The Mana Tank podcast has officially renamed itself. It's still just as ignorant as ever, but it's got a new name. But in the process, we all have our own new sites coming from factorysealed.manatank.com. You can watch us on there now at factorysealed.manatank.com/live. It's the same as watching it on Twitch, but now it's on our website.
Hooray!
So enjoy that. If you watch us live. If not, ignore that.
Hey, you guys should throw me a quick congratulations, because it took me about 75 tries, but I finally remembered what my Twitch login password was.
Congratulations, Kevin, for all of the Twitch that you watch.
All right. Way to go.
Don't you watch Twitch all the time?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to chat in all the channels.
Oh, really? You seem like the guy who would chat in channels.
Yeah, like that doesn't seem like me at all.
You seem like a channel chatter.
See, I put Twitch on in the background while I play Final Fantasy VIII for an endless amount of hours.
I suppose that makes sense. Plus, you probably just have your password saved on everything, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same password, right?
So,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Kevin, I found a new job for you today.
Did you?
Yes. I know how much you were jealous of me when I was teaching and how much you said you'd love to be a teacher, but you suck with kids, right?
Okay, I'll believe you that I said that.
Okay. Apparently, high school teachers are now coaching League of Legends teams. There is a lucrative job market there for you.
It's a resume builder. That's a resume builder.
So what can you offer our school?
Well, League of Legends. I mean, I could step right in and
I can offer jungling 101, kiting 200, and 20-minute surrender 404.
Yeah, definitely graduate level classes of surrendering.
Absolutely. I mean, because the podcast lasted for so long.
I think we did like 4 or 5 episodes.
It started so strong, too. And then it just kind of died, and then Eads wanted nothing to do with it anymore.
Well, if you forget that, if you don't tell people that you did something, then it'll just disappear.
That's not how it works.
Especially things on the internet.
Oh, yes.
Just don't think about it, and it'll go away.
Nobody digs that stuff up. Ever. So, Kevin, I do have to extend another, well, not a congratulations. This is more of a thank you.
Yes, I knew this was coming.
Yeah. So, I'd say a couple weeks ago, Kevin sent me a message saying, hey, you need to download this Final Fantasy Record Keeper. And I'd seen advertisements for it before, but after the colossal shit pile that was All the Bravest, I was super hesitant to play any sort of mobile Final Fantasy games. But I downloaded it on the iPad and got partway through the tutorial, like to the first battle, and then my iPad died, and I haven't charged it since. But today at not home, I was on my phone and decided to download it. And let me tell you what, that game is fantastic. It is.
I know.
It is going to be an absolute time sink. It's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those shitty scenarios where you're going to be bound to stamina and time with how much you can play, kind of like Clash of Clans and stuff like that. But Kevin, you probably understand the concept of it better than I do. I'm only through like the 4th dungeon.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So the way it works is you go into a specific world, right? So right at the beginning, I think you get Final Fantasy VII is the first mission.
Wait, you're not going to give us any lead up as to what this game is?
What do you mean? What this game is? This game, it's vintage Final Fantasy. It's
not.
You have a party of 5, and
it's vintage Final Fantasy battles. This game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, just battles. There's no plot.
Well, there is. The plot is that something sinister has happened, and all of the major events and memories from Final Fantasy have been kept in this museum as paintings. And within those paintings lies the essence of that memory, and they've been stolen. So you need to...
Yeah, or they're fading away, or for whatever reason. And yeah, so you go back into the paintings and restore like what happened in the original game. So the first thing you do is the Mako 5 reactor assault in Final Fantasy VII. And after that, then there's some other worlds open up. Like I think Final Fantasy X opens up next, so you do a couple Final Fantasy
That's the one that I just got to, because I think you go from 7, then you go down to 4, and then 10 is next. But from what I've seen so far, it kind of bounces around, and they say like the next one might not be in this world, and you kind of have to explore where it goes.
Yeah. So the worlds that are opened up right now for me, I have 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10.
Wow.
And I think there's some Final Fantasy 2 missions that will be coming in the next little while that I just haven't done the prerequisites for.
The thing I didn't like about 4, though, is that they used the remade 3DS, or the 3DS version. They don't use the...
Oh, they use... Okay.
Kind of like what Final Fantasy 3.
Right.
It's with Kain and...
Yeah, so... But still, fantastic concept. I mean, you can go through, play all those classic battles. That's awesome.
It's interesting. I mean, it looks like combat from an old NES style. You're not jumping back into Final Fantasy VII and playing the Final Fantasy VII battles. You are playing...
Yeah, they're all like the style of Final Fantasy 1 for the probably 5 people who are listening to this show who have played that game. Like, all the enemies are on the left, all the party members are on the right, and it's just straight grid-style combat kind of thing.
Well, you've got your standard attack, defend, and then each character has a couple different moves. Like, obviously, your mage has fire and blizzard or healing, and then you have... What are the power attacks called, Kevin?
I don't think they're called limit breaks, but they're pretty much limit breaks.
Yeah, they're essentially limit breaks. But as you go into each dungeon, there is 3 levels to each dungeon. And the enemies get progressively harder, with the final level of the dungeon being the boss. And that's where you kind of need to balance plowing through the easy enemies to get to the boss while saving some of your power attacks. And
yeah, because all your abilities other than basic attack have a certain amount of uses per dungeon.
Yes.
So, and as you beat things in the dungeon, they can drop orbs, and you use the orbs to power up your abilities and get more uses and get more abilities and beat more higher level dungeons. And
in a nutshell, it is all of the best parts of Final Fantasy without walking around and without reading story.
Yeah, it's straight Final Fantasy combat and old school combat too.
But it's cool because I just unlocked Cloud, and I was reading there's a feature to it where characters are more effective within their own realms. So if I put Cloud into my party, but then it tops or it stacks where if I unlock the Buster Sword or another weapon from Final Fantasy VII and give it to Cloud or another character from 7 and go into the 7's realm, he'll be far more effective than, say, Kain from Final Fantasy IV.
Well, I'm excited to try this. I haven't tried it at all.
It kind of sucks because you do hit a wall where it's like, oh, I used all my stamina. Now I need to sit and wait for more stamina to regenerate. But if you just pound through it and play for 20, 30 minutes and then put it down, come back half an hour later, it's a big time sink.
And see, I'm the type of guy, I like that classic gaming, that classic Final Fantasy style. I mean, that's what got me into it. So, I mean, to go back and kind of play a game like that, I think it's a pretty cool concept. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, the game's been out in Japan for six and a half months now.
Jeez.
And there's constant content updates. So I think they have all the worlds unlocked. I don't think there's Final Fantasy 12 yet. But I think every other one is unlocked in Japan. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's cool
not 11 because it's MMO.
The characters the enemies that you fight, they're sprite versions of enemies within that game. But then you have the battle music from that game and then the boss music. But I noticed that in the Final Fantasy 2, the very first world that you're in, you fight the Mist Dragon. You remember the Mist Dragon from...
Yeah, Final Fantasy 4, yeah.
4.
2/4, yeah.
So, it's cool how they carried over some of those boss techniques where if you attack the dragon and then he turns into the mist and attack him again, he sends status things at you.
Right.
So it's cool that they carry some of those things over.
And most of the boss fights are as close as they can be to the game that they're originally from, right?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VI, the mission I just recently passed was fighting Kefka in the mines in Narsh.
I was gonna. Are they?
That was my Kefka laugh, by the way.
I wonder if they're gonna have the final form of Kefka too. That would be sweet.
Eventually, they probably will because it kind of follows the basic chronology of the game. So, I mean, the first mission in Final Fantasy VI is Terra and the Magitek armor, and then you go through a bunch more missions that follow the storyline and eventually end up at... So right now I'm in Zozo, Tower of Zozo.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I'm just clearing it out.
So each of the realms, you go through the major plot points of the games.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually super cool. Are you going to spend any money on this?
I've only dropped $100 so far.
What?
But hear me out. 70 of it was when I was really drunk one night, so I mean that shouldn't count.
Oh my god. I was expecting you to say no, but I guess coming from the guy who spent $500 on Marvel Puzzle Quest,
$250. Come on, don't sell me short. I spent $500 on Heart.
That's right. You've spent almost $1,000 on free-to-play games.
I gotta invent an app.
You are...
Yeah, no, invent an app and make it so that I like it and I will feed you money.
There we go.
And for every one Kevin that we know, there's probably 1,000 that we don't know. They just sit there and dump money like into Candy Crush.
Oh yeah, for
sure. Oh my god, Kevin, that's ridiculous.
Come on, man.
I could foresee playing this for a while though. Because it's got all the armor
so
and item upgrades and stuff like that. The thing that I didn't fully understand was the concept of the camp between battles. You can't, if you leave the realm, you forfeit all your experience and you have to start over, but you can go to camp. And does that...
No, at everything, like if you beat a certain set of, like, if you beat the first level of a dungeon, and as soon as you beat that, you've already got all that loot, so you can back out at that point.
Okay.
And not get, like, if you know you're not going to win the next mission, you can just back out and not lose the stamina.
You can't back out of the realm.
You can back out of the whole thing.
Really?
You go camp and then you go retreat.
See, I thought that it would forfeit all of your items and everything.
No, you still keep everything that you've got so far. You just won't get any of the completion bonuses for beating the entire dungeon. But yeah, one of the strategies to get experience faster or better gear faster is to, like, go into a mission that has really good rewards at a really high difficulty. Just beat the first one, because if you do anything more, your whole party will just get destroyed. Yeah. And then just back out and start over and just keep farming that one mission.
That seems tedious, but I guess it's not a true Final Fantasy game without farming.
and there is a lot of farming in this game.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous.
Gotta grind, baby, gotta grind.
It's a good time killer. It's a great pooping game.
Oh. You're always looking for those.
Yes. I mean, does anybody...
But yeah, there's like 70, low 70s playable characters in the Japanese version already.
Jesus. How many have you unlocked?
I don't know. Hold on, let me check. I have all the ones that are available to unlock.
Does Aerith still die? Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
You can have Aerith and Sephiroth in the same party in this game.
And he stabs through her to stab the enemies.
I don't like it anymore because it's not real.
It isn't real.
This isn't authentic. Stabs through her. That's his limit break.
There's currently 17 that I have unlocked. There's one more.
Aerith, run up there! Stand in front of that flan!
Oh wait, 0 damage. Gotta cast magic.
Oh, I'm still dead. Jesus. It's cool, man. Definitely download it. I was surprised with how not shitty it was. The tutorial kind of sucks.
Yeah, the tutorial sucks, and it's shitty that it's a stamina-based game.
Can you pay money for more stamina orbs?
You can spend money to refresh, but you need to beat content to get a higher pool.
Oh. I think I'll stick with not paying.
Well, there's plenty of people like you out there in the world who play free-to-play games free.
Yes.
Then there's people like me who like to have a little bit more fun.
Cheaters is what you are. You're the type of person who downloads and pays for the easier fatalities in Mortal Kombat.
Oh man, I do not respect anybody who downloads the easier
So the
whole point of that game is to do the hard to do fatalities as like a fuck you to your opponent.
I remember changing my train of thought. I was trying to go 2 different directions at once. I was reading about those, and I initially thought it was you just pay $30 and all the fatalities instantly become easier. No, it is you pay to have access to use that X amount of times. So you can pay $5 for 15 easy fatalities.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it is a finite number that you can use. It's not just they all become easier.
That is so stupid. And people are just going to eat that up.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's genius, right? You got your casuals who are like, "Mommy, I want to do the fatalities."
Yeah. I think it's like $2 for 5 and $5 for 15, and then it's
that's awesome.
It's dumb. It is real dumb. But yeah,
I love all the little ways that video game companies over the years have just found to squeeze that little bit of extra profit out of every one of their games.
Well, yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 also has a bunch of characters that are already on the game, but if you didn't pre-order it from a certain company or you didn't buy the DLC, you're not getting it. I miss the days of, damn, this is the game I bought, this is the game I have.
Exactly.
If it's broken as shit, it's broken as shit, and I loved it.
Well, not a lot of games back then came out of the box broken.
Superman 64.
Why would you buy Superman 64?
I didn't buy it, but just as an example, that game sucked huge anus. Inside of huge anus.
The rectum.
The rectum. So, I'm assuming we are all done with Disc 2 of Final Fantasy VIII, because that's ultimately what this show is going to be about.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
You are done. Kevin needed the extra weekend. We were supposed to record last Thursday, but Kevin was...
Yeah, it turns out that I had quite a bit left. I had like a solid 6-7 more hours.
Wow. How many hours are you guys in, do you estimate?
Ooh, I don't remember off the top of my head, to tell you the truth.
I'm at 28.
I am at 34.
I would say I'm somewhere in between you guys, really.
I knew that after Disc 1 would be the time where the low-level playthrough speeds past.
Yeah. So I think I am so high because Derek and I found, I don't want to say it's a glitch, not a glitch, but it's an exploit. Where I just walked around and kept drawing Ultima from a draw point and then would junction it to Squall. And
that's totally legitimate.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, doing the Shumi Village.
So let's start from the beginning of the disc here. I got to pull up my show notes. These aren't notes for the show. These are notes for the show. Here we go.
That didn't make any sense. Okay.
Very smooth.
Yeah. I took notes while playing this game, and to be honest, guys, I highly recommend taking notes while you play a game. I retain more.
You're the one who drives the show.
Yeah.
And I feed off you, man.
I suppose. But I feel like if I went back and actually played some older RPGs and just like jotted down major plot points, because what I do is I write it in a notebook, and then I transfer it to my Google Drive. So it's like that concept of writing it and then also typing it. I get the information technically 3 times, and I find that it sticks better. I'm enjoying this game a hell of a lot more, and I understand what's going on a hell of a lot more than I ever have, and it's probably because I'm taking notes. But at the end of Disc 1, Squall, I'm saying Squall dies.
Well, it's very believable. He takes an ice spike through the chest.
Yes. That ruined Kevin's perception of the game, so I'm curious to see how that has played out. But Disc 2 opens up in Windhill, and you are again playing as Laguna, who we actually get a little bit more insight as to who Laguna is in this game. But it sheds some light onto who this mysterious Ellone character is that we're trying to figure out. But he's in Windhill, and apparently he was picked up and brought
He was
back.
rescued.
Yeah,
he was rescued. He was injured, and they brought him to Windhill. And then Ellone's caretaker, Rain, cared for him until
Thank you, that's her name.
until she got better.
Yes.
Or until he got better.
No, that's not...
That's the...
Because when Laguna was injured, he was taken to Shumi Village.
Okay, that's what I was going to bring up, because I have a question mark later in my notes where it's like, wait a minute, what lines up? So this is actually even further back than that. This is before that.
This might be after that.
Actually,
like it might be after the like timeline wise, it might be after he was at Shumi Village.
Okay,
but it's definitely after he fell off the cliff, he did not go to Windhill. Like I don't know how
that's
he
right.
ended up in Windhill.
He went to Shumi Village. They explain that later. But I call it a throwaway line, because unless you go and talk to this guard who's doing something, unless you talk to him 2 or 3 times, he doesn't say this. It gives you a little bit more perspective as to when in time this happens. And apparently it's 6 months since the time of sorceress Adele. And she becomes important at the end of the disc, so you understand who she is. So just kind of keep that in frame, because we'll come back to who sorceress Adele is. And that kind of, you're right, Kevin, this happens after Shumi Village. But he goes into the bar, and apparently he's been here for quite a while. He runs into Kiros in the bar, and Kiros says that Ward has become a janitor. But here's where Derek and I were actually talking about this a while ago. The bartender gives some insight into Julia.
Yes.
Who Julia is the piano player that Laguna used to have a crush on, or probably still did. The bartender said that Julia married a General Calloway.
Ipso facto, Rinoa
is
General Calloway's and Julia's daughter.
So, Julia is Rinoa's mom, not Squall's. I know for the longest time I always assumed that Laguna was Squall's dad.
That's what I thought initially, or what I was predicting, but didn't happen.
It's kind of cool, because there was another line in there. I always like to just talk to people until they start repeating stuff, because you never know what else they're going to come up with. And the bartender said that Julia said her true love ran off to war. But if you think back to when you're talking to Julia for the first time in the piano bar, there's a soldier in the back who says that he was in love with Julia, but the General Caraway, saw him as a threat and was sending him off to war, so this was his last night to watch Julia play.
No, I don't remember that part, but...
That's what taking notes does for you.
Well, gee, hey, oh, come on.
But, I'm starting to pick up on all these interconnected pieces, and I don't think I've ever seen some of this stuff before, so I think it's worth sharing. But overall, Laguna's lifestyle is kind of slowed down, and he just spends his days fighting monsters in Wind Hill, and he wants to settle down with, what'd you say her name was? Rain?
Rain, yes.
Rain.
Him and Rain have a thing, if you want to call it that. I think Rain has a little bit more for him than he has for her, but nevertheless, it never really fully materializes. Laguna is wanting to settle down, you can tell, because when Kyros comes to find him, he's fighting these monsters, and he's reporting to Rain and Ellone like he's some sort of, play policeman, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, reporting for duty, sir.
He's not taking it seriously.
Yeah, slayed 10 monsters today. And, but he likes it, he's comfortable there.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, when you are out doing those monster patrols and everything like that, I mean, obviously I had Encounter and Unequipped. Are there actually monsters in this village that you fight?
Yes, there are.
Yes.
Okay, because I do the whole patrol and not a single monster. And oh, how many monsters did you kill? 0?
You are worthless.
Yeah, she got pretty mad at me that I didn't kill any monsters, but
that's funny. That it actually made a reference to that you didn't kill any?
Yeah, she's like, oh, really? Slow day? I mean, if I was taking notes, I could tell you exactly what she said, but...
That's funny. You should take notes next
notes?
time. But that's kind of where, the opening is really abrupt, and it just kind of ends there, and then the whole crew wakes up in the prison, and they're still trying to figure out what this place is, and they kind of all refer to it as the dream world. But this is kind of where some of the information that we found from Kyros comes into handy, because it said Ward was a janitor, and they start piecing stuff together, where Zell had always been dumped into Ward, and he realizes they're trying to figure out how can we escape, and he goes, well, wait a minute, Ward was a janitor, and Ward was a janitor in the prison, so we should know how to get out of here. So ultimately they can kind of use that knowledge from the dream world to help them escape. So at this point, they're kind of being shown specific things to help them on their mission, whereas before it was just like, hey, here's Laguna and Julie and Kyros and Ward. Who the hell are they?
Well, as they experience the dream world more and more, they're going to learn things that'll help them in their world.
Yes.
Precisely. They learn more about this dream world as we go along here, and what's exactly causing them to do it, and go into that world and every now and then. So... more to come.
So this is where I'm convinced that we learn that Squall is dead. He wakes up in the cell, and the first words out of his mouth, he's obviously coherent of what happened beforehand. He's like, where am I? My wound? Like, there's no wound. How is this possible? He had an ice spear the size of a truck go through his chest.
Well, okay. Let's back it up here. You can also cast and have meteors rain from the skies on people, and it doesn't kill them. This is Final Fantasy. I don't necessarily think he died.
Okay, I've got plenty, not plenty, but I've got a theory as to why I think he's dead, and it'll come up as we go. But he doesn't necessarily understand. Like he understands. I should be dead.
Right.
I should be dead. And I've read other people's concepts like, well, if you watch the video, it doesn't go through his heart. It goes around.
It's
like
a cartoon.
It would still puncture his lungs and put like the entire center of his chest outside of him. He would be dead.
It's a cartoon. Okay.
It ain't real.
This isn't a
But think about it. Ares died in 7, and they didn't cast Phoenix down on her. What the hell happens when people die in battle? They just fall asleep?
Yeah, well, they fainted.
Maybe Cloud, when he got out of wherever the hell they were, is like, motherfucker, I should have casted Phoenix down. They get down there and their body's all eaten by fish. It's like, well, too late now. I knew we shouldn't have skimped on those extra Phoenix downs.
There are other Final Fantasy games where characters die and another character will come in and say, like, cure, and try to revive them, and it doesn't work.
Well, tactics, when you die, you die.
So, I mean... Final Fantasy does what Final Fantasy wants to do, and I think they try to, really back it up when they're trying to say, like, this character is dead, because they have somebody come over and they're like, oh, cure 1, cure 2, life 1, and, they're casting all these spells and nothing happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not totally sold that Squall has died here, but
I'll sell you.
You're gonna have to sell it to me.
I will sell you.
I don't think you're going to be able to sell it because as I went through the episode, that was in the back of my mind, and it's just the entire, disc. The entire disc just made me think that your theory is just total bullshit.
Wait till once we get to the end of the game, I can clinch it.
Okay.
But Squall wakes up and he's in a cell where Cypher is there torturing him, and at this point we kind of learn that Cypher is super pissed off about not becoming a seed, and he seems to think that as soon as they all became a seed, they were told the secret behind what seed was really for, and that's ultimately what Cypher wants to know is the truth behind seed, which we've learned that it's just the code name for Balam's military force, but since Cypher didn't become a seed, he doesn't know that, and he wants to know why seed oppresses the sorceress, and from there we get missiles that are launched up into the sky, and maybe that's a little premature.
Yep, a little bit. But
anyway, Cypher's torturing kind of calls into question Squall's whole understanding of seed, and he's starting to think, well, maybe seed is a bad force, and we're like flowers, and we're put out there to instill these rebellions within certain governments. So he kind of starts to question himself.
Looks at them as like a source of anarchy.
If you look at, and this is kind of where I'm going to start bringing these points in. This is where Squall starts to speak omnisciently. You know how when Squall's talking, it's the gray box with the white words, but when he's thinking, it's kind of that opaque box. You don't see much of that in the first disc.
With the parentheses.
Yeah.
No, you see an awful lot of that.
I was going to say, you do, actually.
But you see it even more here in this disc, and things he's questioning fundamental things, but he's also, I'll save some of the other stuff for later. Where do we go? What happens next?
Well, basically, the rest of the team, they break out of the cell with the help of Zell's knowledge of being in Ward's head, so to speak. And then from there, it's just it's a mad dash. The alarm goes off, and it's a mad dash to try to find Laguna. Well,
they got to stop the sorceress from launching the missiles.
Right, but they're breaking out of the cell first.
Oh, that's right. Right, they need to find Squall.
Yeah, they need to find Squall. That's where they're going from here.
This is where I was talking to you before, Kevin, about farming incredible cards.
Yep, there's some good spots.
Yeah, in the lower levels of the dungeon, there's one guy in particular who has a whole bunch of good ones, but the thing is, you need 100 stacks of like really shitty items in your inventory to get the good stuff that you could have got.
Yeah.
Because it's not so much the cards that the guy gives you, it's every time you beat him in a card game, he gives you, obviously, the card or whatever for beating the fight, but he also gives you a random item from a pool of items.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have already 100 potions and 100 Phoenix Downs and eye drops and all those shitty things, the only thing left for him to give you is like attack up pills or like strength junctions and like crazy high level items that would make you totally broken at this point in the game.
Hence, I just got potions and eye drops from him. And I said, fuck this guy. I thought you were supposed to get cool items from him.
But yeah, and obviously I found it out too late too, that you needed full stacks of all this stuff. So I fought him a couple times, and I think I got a strength up pill or something, and then I just moved on.
Yeah. I didn't spend a whole lot of time farming the game, but then again, my playthrough doesn't rely heavily on cards. So they eventually find Squall, and they break into two teams. Oh, you meet a Moomba.
I was gonna say, we gotta bring the Moombas into this.
This is goofy because the first thing that the Moomba said, he's this furry little
orange creature. He kind of looks like Red 13 from Final Fantasy VII. But the first thing he says when he sees Squall is he screams Uncle Laguna. Yep.
So suddenly we've got talking creatures and how it's tying back to Uncle Laguna. I guess that is a little bit explained in the Shumi Village side piece,
yep.
But
that's in the Shumi Village side.
They break into two teams. One team needs to go to the military base. One team needs to go to Balam Garden. Military base, in short, they get there, not in time to stop it from exploding, and they don't explain at all how they get out of there.
No. And, I was fortunate enough to have a guide for everything, so I didn't set any of the alarms off if you're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
But, still, I mean, pretty tough bosses at that point. I can't remember the exact name of that machine that you have to fight, but I mean, he's tough.
Yeah.
Tough for what level I was at anyway. And you're just a second what you say. Yeah, it's basically the base is in self-destruct mode. They have already launched missiles, and
they get outside and they see the missiles
Yep.
launch, and then Selfie just looks. I had Selfie and Irving and Rhinoa in that party, and they just look up at it and go, "Well, this is it." And boom, the thing explodes, and then you go back and play in Balam, and they never explain how those people get out of that situation.
No, and I'm not exactly sure either.
And that is another reason why I think this is a fabrication of Squall, because things are starting to not make as much sense as they should.
And I'm still holding on to the fact that, because when they meet up when the two teams finally do meet up later in the disc,
Mm-hmm.
and Squall asks them straight up, like, how did you get out of the missile base? Selfies, or I guess whoever you send, starts to talk, and then one of the other people interrupts and says, "Oh, save it for later." So I'm hoping that later in the disc, or later in the game, maybe it'll be explained. But I can just see them leaving it up in the air too. Like, yeah, they got out.
Yeah, just a cheap trope. Like, they just got out. Don't worry about it. They just got out.
But you see,
Even though every character had resigned themselves to death at that point, they just got out.
And they didn't leave it like in a cliffhanger where you thought like, well, maybe they got out or maybe they didn't. It was just like they're still standing there and the time expires. It's like, boom.
And it blows up. You see an explosion.
Like if you would have saw them like in the last scene, like running away or something like that.
And like riding the shockwave across the plains.
Right. Yeah. Maybe
No.
maybe they survived. Maybe they didn't. But
They
here it's
died.
like, oh, they're dead.
Yes. So they get back to Balam Garden, and suddenly they are a traitor. Those goofy-ass people that are wearing the long robes and the helmets, they're suddenly attacking people, and the whole garden is divided between Headmaster Sid and this new ruler Norg. And they're like, who are you with? Are you with Norg or are you with Sid? And obviously we side with Sid, but apparently this is the point where the true battle for Seed is starting to come to fruition, and
Well, not just Seed, but the entire Balam Garden itself.
Yeah.
Because basically Norg, from what I understood with the story, is that he financed the building of Balam Garden.
yes.
Okay. And then Seed kind of moved into Balam Garden. Okay. And now I can't remember, why are they exactly fighting each other again? Like what's going on?
Why is who fighting each other?
Why are the Norg and Sid, Headmaster Sid at ends with each other? What's going on?
What I think is going on there is Norg is only in it for the profit.
Yes.
He only wants Seeds to be out doing mercenary work so he can make bounties and contracts so he can make more money. Sid has always been in it because he knows the true focus of Seed is that they have to one day rise up and fight the sorceress.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay,
the reason I think the conflict happens is that Seed tells Norg, okay, the time is now. We have to go after the sorceress. And he's like, no, we need to keep making money.
Because if they fulfill their goal of destroying the sorceress, then Seed would be dismantled, and therefore Norg wouldn't be able to make any more money.
Okay. Yeah.
Either that or sorceress would win, and then either way, the Seeds get wiped out.
But Norg wasn't he commissioned. This is getting a little ahead of ourselves, but he was commissioned by the sorceress. The sorceress ultimately is the one who created Seed. And you and I were talking about this before. So if Seed's ultimate goal has always been to destroy the sorceress, and it was set up by the sorceress, she knew that she was setting it up to kill herself. And she needed somebody to finance it.
Right.
And she went to Norg, and then Norg brought in Headmaster Sid to run the place.
No, it's the other way around. Because Sid and the sorceress worked together to establish the gardens.
Okay, and they needed somebody to fund it.
Yeah, Sid traveled around the world looking for financiers, and finally stopped in Shumi Village and found Norg, and he's like, yeah, let's do this, and
Uh-huh.
then they did it.
And this is another part that's kind of goofy because the conflict just suddenly ends. You fight Norg, and it's like, it's just over.
Well,
There's suddenly...
Yeah, that was kind of weird. It's like, and then even some of the students later make a passing reference to it. It's like, so what was all that commotion about that just randomly stopped?
And Norg actually issues an apology, and he's like, here, you guys can have Seed as an apology for my actions. And when Squall goes up to Sid to give him his report, Sid doesn't think anything of it. He doesn't even want to hear it, and nobody makes mention that up until this point in the game, I understand Final Fantasy creatures and enemies are a little out there, but up to this point in the game, everything is, it fits within this neat little mold of like, okay, this is this world, this is this realm. And suddenly we're introduced to this gigantic alien mutant, and this huge garden is now mobile. Like, shit is becoming weird. And nobody thinks twice to say like, you guys see that big ass yellow dude downstairs? Like, nobody says anything about that. Everyone's just like, whatever. So that, like, have you ever had a dream, and in your dream, you don't think shit is weird at the time, but when you wake up, you're like, wow, that was fucked up.
Well, I mean, that might be getting into it a little bit. I think it's more just a product of, they didn't have enough time to tell the whole story in the game. Because, like you said, like, what happened all in the middle here? The kid going like, oh, what was all that commotion about? It's like, well, it's a video game. People want to play. They don't want to see.
No, but
they don't want to read a book here. So
but there should have
tell
been
the story well enough.
There should have been more of a question from the team to Sid, like, what the hell's going on? And nobody thinks twice. Like, suddenly this thing's a big boat.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks anything of it. But we learn at this point that Sid and the sorceress Adia are married. Once again, nobody's fazed by that. Everyone's like, oh, really? Oh, all right. I guess they're married.
That was probably one of the biggest surprises of the disc for me. Being that I've only played this once before, I didn't really remember that one very well. Adia and Sid obviously, were married, but why does he want to kill her? Like, where does this come from?
In that conversation afterwards, the conversation with Sid after you beat Norg, Sid says, yes, I'm married to Adia, and this is the real meaning of Seed. The ultimate goal is to defeat the sorceress, and every mission up until this point was just training for now, and we are going after the sorceress.
And then the interesting part about this as well, and, just kind of to bring out the characters. I mean, we kind of talked about in our last episode how Squall is somewhere. He's just a weird dude. I mean, he has all these thoughts in his head. He made the reference to he's probably on the spectrum somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
He probably is. But now, Sid, out of nowhere, goes, Squall, you are now the leader.
Yep.
Everything, and from here on out, everybody is going to listen to you and what you have to say. Goodbye.
Is that at this point, or is that a little later that he does that?
Once the garden's mobile.
I thought that was after
once they fix everything.
That's from Fisherman's Horizon. After Fisherman's Horizon.
Okay, yeah. So okay, you're right. The garden gets mobile, it crashes at Fisherman's Horizon. And
but before that happens, after everybody just kind of shrugs off this whole little coup that they had within, like everyone's like, oh, sorry, okay, hey, we're happy being friends again. This Galbadian ship approaches, and we learn of a new group of people called the White Seed, and who the hell are they?
Yeah. And they don't explain it.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere.
They don't explain anything there.
Their only purpose is that they are out looking for Ellone, and they have it on very good authority that Ellone is in Balam, which makes sense because when we first started talking in the first episode, I never noticed before that it was Ellone in the mirror who says the first thing in the game, like, oh, how nice to see you again, Squall. So Squall goes and finds her in the library, and that's where we kind of start learning the truth about what's been happening with these dream sequences. She's actually been the one that's been sending them back in the past, and we don't know why, but her whole rationale is, if you can change the past, wouldn't you at least try?
Right. And, I didn't want to say it earlier, but maybe that's one of the reasons why they were in the prison. They were sent back at that point, because Zell would be able to, inside Ward's mind, be able to learn about the prison and break out of the prison.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought she was behind that. That was one thing that I didn't want to give it away right off the bat, but now that we've kind of talked about it a little bit.
Well, we learn a little bit more about Squall as a person, too. I know that we think he's kind of special at times, but his whole character is really focused on not relying on other people, and he's worked very hard through his life to become independent, and suddenly now he is being relied upon by Ellone. And the one thing that I thought that was actually really out of the norm, and this is almost where we were talking before about how Squall was thinking to himself, and we had all those captions, and okay, sure, that happened through disc 1, but as Ellone is leaving, she whispers to Squall something. It doesn't say it on the screen, and then Squall goes through this whole little existential thing, and then he addresses us, the gamer, and says, what Ellone whispered to me was, "You're my only hope." So it's phrased differently. It's not just a thought. It's, he's talking to us.
Didn't catch that. Probably just thought it was another one of his thoughts. But interesting.
So it's almost, and this is where I can still buy into the whole fact that he's dead, because they say that when you've died, you either relive your life, or your memories flash before your eyes, or you go through this euphoric dreamlike state and things happen and it's almost like a dream. He is recalling this. He's looking back on it, and he's narrating his own, he's narrating things as it happens. And it's not necessarily what really happened because he's dead at this point, but he's narrating it from a third party perspective.
Huh. I don't know, man. You gotta pump the brakes on the whole...
No way.
On the whole he died thing.
Nope.
Your past couple of points have been pretty weak.
No.
It's just like, well, but if you look at it this way...
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Like,
I know. Okay, but...
That little grammar error there, that could have just...
What little
been
grammar
something that
error?
Slipped past search.
It was not a grammar error.
And you might have a good point in the end, Eric, but I don't know about this one.
We'll get there.
I don't know. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be there. But yeah, okay, so the white CDs, they come, they get Ellone. Ellone jumps on the ship with him, she sails off. No one's actually really sure why she needs to go with them, but they just say, we need her to come with us.
Well, and after Ellone leaves, there's this whole little introspective thing with Squall too, where again, he goes through this whole process of talking about his life in past tense, and his whole character is built upon the concept of he hates relying on people and he hates having people rely on him, and suddenly everyone's going to rely on him.
Yes.
And he has to rely on everybody. He's like, I made it this far on my own. And he kind of comes to this epiphany that, no, I really didn't. I'm only here because of other people. And suddenly he's kind of filled with this whole bit of self-doubt, and he's like, I don't really know anything at all. And it flashes back to Squall, like Kid Squall. We don't know where he is at this point, sitting in the rain, and he just says, it's okay, sis. I'm okay without you.
And and I think what that goes to show is that event in his childhood has seriously scarred him.
Yeah.
Okay. It goes to show, like, okay, why is Squall a weirdo? Why does he always talk to himself? Here it is.
He is not a well-adjusted man.
Now, for the first time, I mean, you saw him standing in the rain before, and you think he was just a weird kid, just standing in the rain. But now, it's like, he's lost somebody, okay? Yeah. He's without her, and, this moment in his childhood, he's even telling himself, okay, I can live without you. Well, he can live without her by putting up all these barriers like he has over his entire life so far.
Well, and the word in there, sis, actually comes into pretty big play a little bit later,
of
too.
Course.
But at this point, the garden loses control. We crash into Fisherman Horizon, which is a peaceful fishing village run by hippies who hate violence.
That's the first thing I thought of.
It's like, hey,
I'd imagine they're all vegans, too.
I think it's Washington State, actually. Did you guys see the Starbucks down there?
We got fresh kale chips! Opening up a CrossFit gym just down the road.
And minimum wage is $25 an hour.
Oh, man.
Oh, sorry, Washington.
Okay, so...
hipsters.
I'm going to continue. I'm not pumping the brakes on this. I'm going to sell you guys on this.
This isn't the only thing that the game's about, though.
No, but this is how I'm doing my playthrough.
Okay.
Kevin's doing his low-level playthrough. I'm doing my Squall's Dead playthrough, and you're just playing the game. And Jess just gave up.
I'm more doing the anti-dead thing now.
No, you're just going to be devil's advocate. Don't do it.
Okay, I'm just messing with you.
So, when you first get off, you talk to several people along the way, and most people either have a name or they don't have a name. The first few people you talk to are listed as familiar face. And they get
number 1 and number 2.
They get really frustrated when Squall doesn't remember who they are. And I don't want to call it a theory, but the human brain is not capable of generating a face on its own. All of your dreams supposedly have been populated with faces of people that you have seen at some point or another in your life. So, if this is Squall, and he is dead, and he is imagining all of this shit happening, all the faces that he's seen have been populated with, or all the faces in here are people that he's seen, and these could be people that he's seen and known at some point, but he's losing his mind and his memory, and he recognizes them but doesn't know who the hell they are. That's my thought on that.
That is your strongest point yet, but still.
I think that those guys were just twin brothers who liked fucking with people who came to the town.
That was my first
And their
thought.
name was Familiar Face?
Number 1 and number 2.
Well, no, they named them Familiar Face so that you, as the game player, know that they're supposed to look the exact same.
Yes.
That's why they're Familiar
Who
Face.
are they
1 and
familiar to, though?
2. To each other. They look the same. They're both familiar.
When you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras. All right? So,
I love zebras.
So I agree with Kevin here. They were just trying to mess with people, I think.
Quit trying to shoot me down!
I just don't... Come on, man.
Alright, so in all, they're not well...
But no, even the guy at the bottom of the ramp said something along the lines of, "Oh, didn't I just see you a second ago?" And then Squall's like, "Wait, what?"
So maybe he populated this death dream...
For Christ's sake.
with the same face.
Ugh. By the way, best theme of the town so far, Fisherman's Horizon.
Yes, that is one of my favorite Final Fantasy songs of all time.
Yep. I was just thinking in my head. Maybe I populated that because I heard it once.
Shut your ass.
I don't know.
Maybe I heard it before in a dream.
Maybe I'm in a dream right now. Inception style.
So, they get into town, they discover the fishermen are the only people who can repair Balam. And they go talk to the mayor. The mayor reluctantly says, "Fine, we'll get you out of here." But in the process, Galbadians invade, and they say they've been sent by the sorceress to find Ellone, and they have orders to burn the city down. So you're kind of in this predicament of these people are helping you, so you should probably help them.
But they want to resolve it peacefully.
Yes.
They don't want confrontation.
Yes. And Squall says, "Fuck that. We're gonna go kill everyone."
Well, you have to.
I kind of like what he...
go ahead. When the general or whatever it is has the mayor hostage, I wonder how many times you can avoid running to help him.
I avoided it, and the people that I was with looked at her like, "Really? Let's go."
Oh, really? Damn.
But I kind of like what Squall says to the mayor after this. He kind of has this whole rationalization on violence, and he's like, "I understand your viewpoint, you may not understand mine, but the world needs both people like you and like me." I think that's one of the most intellectual things he said at that point, instead of being a pussy.
I don't know. I mean, I can get what he's saying. He's putting himself at one end of the spectrum, and I feel like Seed at the other end of the spectrum. Mercenaries, we fight for money, always looking for a confrontation, versus the opposite. Hey, the one who doesn't want any type of confrontation, always looking for peaceful solutions. I think he's just trying to show that there's a balance in the world between those two types of people.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main point he was trying to make, too, was that they're both striving for the same goals in the long run, but Squall just realizes that in order to make it there, he might have to use violence.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't think it's might. He's going to have to use violence.
Well, I mean, even he says that he doesn't want to, but he has to.
Yeah. And then this is where Squall gets appointed to the head of the garden. they go back and report to Sid, and Sid finally comes forth and gets on the intercom and says, "Hey, everybody, this is our new mission. We are appointing ourselves to defeat the sorceress." And he says, "Hey, Squall, you're now in charge." And again, this goes against everything that Squall has built himself up to be. He wants nobody to rely on him, and here he's leading the charge against the sorceress to save the world.
I think part of that, too, when you think about it, let's back it up here. Sid and Adia are married. How would you want to lead when it finally came down to it, would you want to lead the final battle to kill your own wife?
Yeah, that's true.
I think that had
well, Squall even goes through he doesn't want to do it, like you said before. So he goes through this whole process of trying to figure out how to get out of it, and he contemplates quitting Seed. He said, then I wouldn't have to do it. But then he's like, no, just stop thinking about that.
Right. Yeah, that's a very short-lived conversation with himself.
But, do you guys remember from Final Fantasy X the laughing scene? With,
yes, I do.
One of the worst scenes in Final Fantasy games. And then I forgot about the band scene in Fisherman Horizons. That is fucking terrible.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I was about to bring that up and be like, okay, the only thing in this entire disc that makes me think that Squall is dead is the fact that randomly every one of his friends just knows how to play an instrument and puts on a huge concert just for him.
Did you guys actually spend any time listening to him to try to make him sound good?
Oh, no. Fuck no. I'm just like, okay, you play this, you play this, you play this, and you play this.
I think I changed one instrument once. I gave somebody a piano. I'm like, yeah, piano would be good with the bass guitar and a trumpet or saxophone.
I couldn't even tell you what I chose.
But this whole band thing is set up. Like, everybody kind of wants Squall and Rinoa to get together. And this is another point, too, where I think that things are not necessarily as they should be, because in the first disc, Rinoa is all about Cypher. All about him. She's even willing to dance with Squall and be like, oh, you're hot. Like, oh, Cypher, there we go. And she never, ever, after Cypher dies or after disc 1, talks about him at all. Never even alludes to their previous relationship. And suddenly...
yeah, she does.
No, she doesn't.
In disc 2, she does.
She acknowledges that
he was right at the very end.
Sorceress.
Right? Yeah, but she doesn't acknowledge their relationship that they used to have.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And suddenly she's just gaga for Squall. Like, just, Cypher just never existed. But, this whole little band scene date setup is kind of Rinoa's attempt to tell Squall, like, hey, we need you to start opening up a little bit more. And Squall gets really pissed off. I think he bitch slaps her.
What?
Do you remember that? They're sitting on the edge of that
No, he goes to slap her, but she moves out of the way and laughs about it, which I think is pretty funny. That it's just like, yeah, just
domestic violence.
Don't piss me off, otherwise I'm gonna slap you, bitch.
Does Wayne?
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that she's supposed to move out of the way and just giggle.
I thought for the longest time he hit her so damn hard she did a backflip.
That's what I thought too. I'm like, oh, he just hit her. Domestic violence.
Way to go, Squall.
Just went all Ray Rice on her.
He tries to talk her out of it. He's like, I'm not comfortable being relied upon, and like nothing lasts. And he's trying to convince himself that this isn't going to last. I don't want to open up to people, and at some point you're bound to lose everything. And after losing his sister, he doesn't really want to experience that again. So they really made no headway with him at all. But I think they're slowly chipping away at him.
Yeah, and later in the disc, it's funny because there's a couple scenes like when Selphie goes back to Trabia Garden. There's a scene with Selphie and one of her friends where Squall can like play along with a joke that her friend is making, and then Selphie just calls him out on it right away if you try to play along. It's like, Squall, that's not what you really like. Why are you doing this? So it's like, even when he tries to open up, they just shut him right back down. It's like, Squall, can you please not open up? Can you go back to the way you were?
Yeah, go back to being a dick. We got one more spot. Then the game kind of opens up because we have to head back to Balam, and Balam is being controlled by Galbadian soldiers who are looking for Ellone as well. And you end up having to track them down, and there you meet Raijin and Fujin, and this is kind of the last piece because we know what the sorceress is doing, but we haven't really heard from Cypher at all. And Raijin and Fujin say that they're not taking orders from the sorceress, and they're acting on their own and they're on Cypher's side, and they kind of try to convince Squall and his crew, like, you guys should be with Cypher as well.
Okay, I don't remember if I said something about this in the first disc or not when we did the show, but I gotta throw it out there. Is Fujin a robot?
I don't know. Either that or Fujin is severely mentally handicapped.
That's all I want to say when she says affirmative. Affirmative.
Like, from the first disc, I had this inkling of, like, she's a fucking robot, right?
She's just quiet, guys. Settle down. And
she's not quiet because everything she says is all capitals.
She has an eye patch too, doesn't she?
Yeah, she is not an attractive woman.
She's just had a lot of rough go-arounds, guy. Lost her eye.
Fujin's had his way.
Fujin took his bow staff and...
So,
let's just stop her.
Kevin, did you do any of the side quests at this point?
I did... What did I do? I did the CC King quest.
Oh, you did? The cards.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not doing
that's where you go around Balam Garden fighting the different people, and eventually you fight Questus, who's the leader of their little group.
Oh, it's their card club, like chess club.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Which, by the way, I lost major interest in the card game upon the random card rule implementing itself, and I do not know how to get rid of it, and I fucking hate
Just go back to Balam and go to the card.
You can go back to that Queen of the Cards, but she will want to, like, expand a rule, and she's like, if you pay me 20,000 gil, I'll expand
money
this
is
rule.
of no object.
No. But she wanted to expand random to all regions. That's the only one she wanted to do. I'm like, no.
No, can you give me my money back?
There's an extremely long and convoluted process to abolish specific rules, but it's super difficult to do. Well, I'm sure it's not difficult, but it's really time consuming and involves a lot of saving and reloading.
Random pretty much just ruined any of my interest in cards because it's like, how am I supposed to win?
How did you
when
turn it
I just
on?
got the shittiest cards and they got good cards. And
Trabia Garden, that zone is default random.
Oh,
so if you play too many cards there, then it'll spread.
That sucks.
Yeah, and that's what I did by accident then. But
wow.
So I learned my lesson. But.
So this is where.
But yeah, I found out that the selfie card in Trabia Garden, one of the people has that.
That's what I ended up getting.
But and it's because of the random rule. The first time you play them, they'll always use the card. So save right before you try to get it. And if you lose the first one, and then the next time random hits, it ends up not being that card, you can just reload and it'll be the first one there every time.
Did you do the Shumi Village quest?
I did, and oh my god.
Yeah. That
Worst,
sucks.
longest fucking quest ever.
It's so obnoxious because you get in there and the elder, he's kind of this pompous ass.
You do learn, though. Well, I think you gotta learn who the Shumi are, and that's what this quest.
Let's talk about the quest first.
Quest sucked.
The quest sucked ass because they essentially want you to help build a statue. And what was the rest of it, Kevin?
Well, I was gonna say, are we just talking about the first part of the quest, or the part of the quest where it's like you think you're done, and they're like, "Oh no, you have
the whole quest
now
as a
have
whole,
to run over the entire world."
Yeah. The first part of it is the statue, right?
Yeah, the first part is the statues, where you have to find these rocks of different colors, and you have to find them in a very specific order.
Thank you, Game and
Oh my god, that sucked. Yeah, because you can't pick up all of them at once.
No.
You have to pick one up, take it back, and then he tells you the next one that he needs. Go pick it up, take it back. And then there's a fake rock in there that I picked up the water rock by the toad. I'm like, alright, I got it. And I went back in, he's like, no, this is a stone that we threw in the pond. Like, you son of a bitch.
Nice.
But yeah, then it's not done. You're like, alright, I got all 5 rocks, give me my reward. And
they're like, here you go, my hands. So when you got out of there, Squall has the option to call him out on it with the rest of the party and be like, what the fuck was that? That's not a reward. That's the dumbest shit ever. Or you can like try to rationalize it and be like, well, you know, he is an elder Shumi and he's been around forever, and you know, seeing his hands is like seeing into the past and being like, oh, look at what those hands have accomplished.
Oh boy.
That's what I went with.
But I mean, that's what I went with too, and it totally hits on like the entire theme of the game about how like the past is what builds up to everything.
Yeah. And this is where they really start to bring in the whole concept of destiny within the game too. Because in Disc 1, the word destiny is not even mentioned at all. And now suddenly everybody's telling Squall about his destiny that he has. And I understand that's an overarching concept within all Final Fantasy games. We're destined to do this. But as he walks out, the attendant looks at the Elder and he's like, what a sham. And the Elder's like, they know. They obviously know that it's a sham. And I saw this fierce shrewdness in their eyes, and an unimaginable destiny awaits. There's no doubt in my mind that they know. But what is he referring to? What do they know?
Maybe he knows that Squall is going to defeat the sorceress and save the world.
Or maybe he knows that Squall's dead.
Well, if he knows that Squall's dead, he wouldn't have ever met him.
But maybe he understands... I'm not going to pull that thread. But no,
want to go there.
I
said my bit about this already.
We learned that the Shumi are these weird people that live underground and they mine these resources. And they found Laguna after he fell off the cliff with Kiros and Ward in Disc 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where this fits in. And a Moomba, one of those orange creatures, found Laguna laying outside the village covered in blood. And he'd apparently slipped off a cliff trying to escape. That was after he pushed Kiros and Ward, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. And then we learn what a Moomba is. Apparently a Moomba is the Shumi transform. As they get older, they
evolve.
They evolve. And the Shumi do not pursue personal ambitions. They just kind of accept their destiny. And the Moomba is one of the final forms. Anybody who is not...
a Moomba is an elder. Or is like moving towards being an elder.
Moving towards being an elder. But the artisan says, I want to go on to become a human.
Well, they said that the Shumi can evolve into anything, but most of them choose the Moomba because the Moomba is a symbol of honor and bravery and all that other stuff. So most of them choose that.
Yes.
But he said some of them choose other things, and he wants to be a human, and yeah.
But when Laguna gets there, he was on his way to Estar to save Ellone. And that's why I don't think this was the same situation. Because when he was with Kiros and Ward and jumped off that cliff, they weren't on their way to Estar, were they?
No, they were Galbadian soldiers.
Yeah.
Still.
So this isn't the same scenario. Plus they...
Oh, really? When... I guess this was you taking notes, because, yeah, I don't remember.
This is when the Shumi Elder shares that story. He's like, it's been 17 years since finding Laguna. So we kind of get this timeline. Laguna's not that far off. But he was on his way to Estar to save Ellone, who'd been abducted. And then when he was at the Shumi village, he tried to teach the Moomba how to speak because he felt that words were the most important way one could express themselves. And I thought it was kind of funny where they were telling him about the statue. We wanted to build a statue of Laguna because he had a special power. It's like the power to attract people. And Squall kind of says under his breath, it's like, who, that bumbling idiot? It's like, Laguna's terrible with words. And suddenly the Shumi are like, this guy's good with words and he's teaching a Moomba to speak. And that is why we meet that Moomba who is talking in the beginning of Disc 1. So it's that same Moomba. Boom.
Boom.
Did you just drop your pen?
It's a block that my daughter plays with.
Oh.
It's green.
That you drop when you're proving a point?
It's my point
What's up?
proving block.
Point proven.
There's not a whole lot left in the disc here. But then we can get on to some other questions. We go to Trabia Garden. This part sucked. I did not like fighting at Trabia Garden in the least bit.
Fighting? What's that?
Yeah.
Trabia Garden was super easy for me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you just said encounter none and you just walked through.
Galbadia Garden was even easier. Oh man.
You suck.
Come on, man. encountered none.
So Selphie wants to... The Trabi Gardens where Selphie's from, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so she wants to get her revenge on the sorceress for destroying her garden, because when the missiles launched from the base, they blew up Trabi Garden.
Yes.
Rhinoa asks if there's any other way, and Squall gets kind of pissed at her at this point. He's like, wait a minute. You called Seed a military force when you were the leader of the Timber faction resistance, who's all about violence, and now you're asking us if there is any other way. And now you suddenly don't want to fight? So Squall gets kind of pissed off at her about that. And then this is where shit gets really weird. And like, I don't know what to make of all this. Irving just comes out of complete left field and he's like, hey guys, I grew up with Selphie and Quistis at an orphanage. And then Zell, like, they go to this flashback and as they're talking, Zell's like, if I remember this, does that mean I was there too? Like, you were fucking kids. How do you not remember where you were? And Squall does not remember Irving at all. Squall remembers being there, but he doesn't remember Irving.
Well, and then they attribute it to the fact that, hey, it's the chronic use of the Guardian forces causes memory loss. What a weak fucking plot twist.
Which is why I don't think that's really the case.
But no, I mean, it wasn't a plot twist. That was established from minute one of the game. Like, the first thing that they say when you're in the classroom with the Guardian forces when you get Quetzalcoatl and...
Ifrit?
Shiva,
I
think.
Yeah.
And one of the first things they say is that, by the way, Guardian forces affect your memories.
Seriously? I do not remember that at all.
It's in the when you go into the computer and learn about the Guardian forces.
Who does that?
This guy who doesn't take notes.
He read the tutorial.
Yeah, no, it is in there.
Shit.
It 100% talks about how the Guardian forces make you lose your memory.
Huh. Okay, that makes sense, because I thought it was really odd that they all forgot growing up together.
Well, I've got like 4 or 5 of them on a character now, so they're going to have Alzheimer's by the time they're done with this.
Who am I? But the whole time they're talking about Squall remembers being back there, and he just remembers waiting for Sis to come back. And we learn through this that Sis isn't his sister, it's Ellone.
They also learn that there was somebody taking care of them that they called the matron.
And we learn that the matron is the sorceress.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, but there's also a point here, too, where Quistis, was she a lot older than them growing up? Because she expressed interest in Squall. She's like, I think I loved him, but was it love as a brother, or was it something else? And she's like, well, I guess it's too late now.
Yeah.
I think she was like 2 or 3 years older than them. I'm just trying to remember back to the PlayStation 1 instruction book that had the pictures of all of them and their ages.
I think Quistis is 19 and isn't Squall like 16?
They're so angsty.
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
He's 17, 17 or 18. But still, they're so angsty. After they kind of go through that whole flashback at the orphanage and then the battle at Trabia Garden. This is a little messed up too, is when they wake up, everyone's like, where's Zell? They're like, oh, he's sleeping. He hasn't got much sleep lately, but that's our secret. Like, they're super coy about where Zell is, and even Zell is when Squall asks him. It's like, where have you been? He's like, can I borrow your ring?
Wasn't it supposed to be that he was talking with Rhinoa about borrowing the ring? That's why he wasn't there.
What the hell? Why does he want a ring?
I don't know. Rhinoa wants it, obviously.
Yeah, and Zell says he can make her one.
That came out of nowhere, too. It's just like, hey, I want your ring.
I think that was included as a device for Rhinoa to have something romantic to say, because she gets pushed off a cliff, and she's dangling there for damn near an hour.
Yeah, I know.
And Squall comes by and saves her.
The garden is getting rammed.
Yeah, she's just like holding on. No big deal.
That's so stupid. But whatever.
And then Squall comes by and saves her. Before we get to that stupid hovercraft battle took me forever.
Yeah,
Holy crap, that one, I think it took me 3 or 4
tries. Took me probably 15.
It took 3 tries with me.
Jeez, after the first 2 times, I was just getting really pissed off.
Yeah. Well, I decided, you know what, maybe I should learn this instead of just mash attack. And the kick is faster, but it doesn't cause much damage.
And the punch
takes way too long. So if you kick him, he reels and then you can punch him. Or if you block, it reels and then you can punch him. Or if you block 3 times, then you can do a death blow.
Really?
Yeah. Yep, you can do a death blow.
Oh shit, I never knew
that. But the death blow takes forever to wind up.
Yeah, after they gave me the tip on the kick, I beat it the next time. It's like...
So, Squall kicks this guy off this hovering craft, picks up Rhinoa and drops her, and she goes, "Here's your ring back." And she goes, something to the effect of, "I couldn't die because I had to give it back to you." It's like, well, I could have picked it up off your corpse. I mean, it's... Well, he was so quick to give up on her. Everybody's like, hey, Rhinoa's dangling over the cliff dying. And I actually respect Squall for this because he's a leader and he says, she's not the only one who's in danger.
Right. And, plus, you can kind of start to tell here that Squall wants to have a thing for her, but he's really, really, really resisting.
Yeah.
And pretty much everybody, Irving is the one I think that jumps in. He's like, dude, go rescue her. Like
he's such a bro.
I know.
That does totally sound like what Irving would sound like.
Go
Dude,
why don't you go rescue
Well, and Squall, like you said, Squall knows that everybody's trying to get them together, and Rhinoa seems happy that everybody's getting the wrong idea about them.
Yeah, and then Squall calls her out on it, too. He's like, it seems like you're enjoying all the misconceptions people are having about us. No. Squall goes for the backhand again, and she just ducks. Oh, Squall, you're so cute.
Shut up, bitch.
Shut up, bitch, I know it. So you end the disc with fighting Cypher and Adia again. So you walk into this big auditorium, and Rhinoa shows up. And the sorceress kind of addresses everybody as the legendary Seed that's been destined to face her. So obviously she knows that Seed was established with the sole purpose of killing her. And you go through the battle, you win, whatever. Squall goes through this other same thing as the end of Disc 1. What happened? My body. He doesn't understand what's happening to his body. Maybe he's going through late puberty, or he's dead. But then the very last scene of the disc is Rhinoa walks through and she appears to revive Cypher after the battle, and then she collapses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty funny too, because it's like the end of the first disc, you fight Adia, and Squall gets injured, and the disc ends with you being like, oh shit, Squall just got massively fucked up. And disc 2 is the same thing. You fight Adia, and Rhinoa collapses, and you're like ending the disc thinking, oh man, Rhinoa might be totally fucked up.
The cliffhanger.
I'm looking forward to see who gets fucked up at the end of disc 3.
Hopefully it's Irving. I hate that guy.
Irving, come on.
Yeah, he's...
What are our parties that we're with so far? What are you guys using for parties? I know we alluded to this earlier, but let's see. Has anybody changed it up?
Absolutely not. I was telling Kevin earlier today that my main squad is Squall, Quistis, and Zell, and they are all level 45 plus. Everybody else is still under level 15.
Yeah, my party is usually Squall, Questus, and Selfie.
Okay, good choices. Good choices. I got Squall, Irving, and Quistis, and that I did change up. I want to say I was using Selfie, or no, I was using Zell, Squall, and Rhinoa. But then I was thinking back, and I'm like, I think I used this combo the first time I played through. And I'm like, and I actually did go to a previous game save and see, yes, I did use these guys last time. So I'm like, I gotta try somebody different, just to try it out. So, switched it up Quistis, with her blue magic ability. I thought that was kind of cool. You can kind of go and get the different spells and stuff like that, which it's kind of almost a little side quest on its own, and I like that. And I tell you what, man, Irving's limit break with the ammo is freaking sweet, especially as you get better ammo as you go.
I don't use the limit break because I have like 250 strength junctioned. Everybody else is just there to kind of like get the battle warmed up, and then Squall goes, "Gah!" and kills everyone. One hit most enemies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Irving has by far the best limit break in the game.
What is it? His
He
bullet?
just shoots his gun, and then you just have
Is it
to
his
hit
back that keeps popping?
No.
Oh,
No.
I keep hearing crunching.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I'm screeching.
like you could get your back checked.
No, I mean, yeah, you just hit R1, and if you have certain types of ammo, I mean, it can have an elemental effect. My personal favorite is the fast ammo. I mean, you can blast off like, I don't know, 50 shots that all do like
I still like
300
Squall's
to
the
400
best.
damage each.
Renzokuken?
Some Japanese thing.
Whatever. Oh, Kevin, did you do the Odin and Tonberry side quests?
I did not, and that's the only one that I skipped, and I don't know if I'm gonna do it.
You have encounter none.
Yeah, the Odin one is going to be a piece of cake.
Yeah, the Odin one you'll be able to do no problem.
Well, no, the Odin one I don't know if I want to do, just because for those situations where there's fights that you have to get into. If he
I don't
shows
think he
up,
appears
then
in any of the major ones.
Odin, you can just go to him. You just gotta figure your way through.
No, but since he's doing his low-level run, he's not getting experience. And there are some of those battles that you have to get into and then just run away from?
No, so most of the force battles are against like Galbadian soldiers or whatever. So you have to cast break on them to petrify them in order to get no experience from it. So if I get into a fight with like 4 guys and Odin shows up and kills them, then there's a chance my guys will level up.
I see. Okay.
So you have yet to gain a single experience point.
I have gained experience points because I think there's so far 2 fights that you can't avoid, and I think there was 1 fight that I screwed up and didn't have my break magic on the right person. So yeah, I screwed that fight up and I gained experience.
But you're still level 7?
It wasn't enough to push me over yet, so I'm still level 7.
Wow, impressive.
Look at you. No, the Tonberry side quest is by far the worst.
Yep.
It is by far the absolute worst, most boring side quest. And I honestly don't think if I did not have that Ultima Junction to Squall, I would have been able to do it. Because the Tonberries roll, and you have to fight 18 to 22 of them, and of course I had to fight 22 of them. And they roll in with 25,000 HP each, and you have to fight 22 of them consecutively.
And then, immediately following the 18 to 20 second Tonberry, you immediately enter the battle for the Tonberry King Guardian Force.
And of course, I was half asleep laying in bed doing that. So Tonberry was hitting me with his chef's knife and I wasn't healing like I should have. And it's like, oh fuck, here he is. And one person's about to die. And I'm like, oh shit. And he had like 75,000 hit points.
Yeah, he's got, 3 to 4 times as much. I mean, I think it's at up to 2.
But he has a really cool, ability called Familiar that if you miss any of the magazines from in the game, you can purchase them using his familiar item or his familiar skill later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, he's hands down supposed to be the best Guardian Force for low level
because of the level down ability.
You use for the level up ability. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of the spells in the game you can't get unless you draw it from an enemy of a certain level.
Oh.
So you want to level them up to hit that level so you can draw certain abilities.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense then. I guess I never thought about that. Wow. Well, let's see.
But yeah, and I was going to ask you guys, so when you're fighting these Tonberries, are there other enemies to fight too? Nope. Or is it just Tonberries?
Just a Tonberry.
And they don't attack you. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They use a spell called Everybody's Grudge, and that is devastating.
Yep. It's a counterattack, but it's random. It doesn't happen.
If you're going to do it, Kevin, go in 100% completely stocked with high potions, remedies, anything that you can possibly take.
I'm not thinking I'm going to need that. I'm thinking because I can probably 1 or 2 shot him with all my characters.
You think so?
Easy, yeah. Because they'll still be level 7, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
They'll probably, yeah.
So I think the way it works for Tonberries is they have 2,500 hit points per level you are, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, they don't have much in the versions I would be fighting.
I'm actually looking forward to getting into some of the later stuff, like Island Closest to Heaven, Island Closest to Hell, and then the Cactar Island, trying to get the giant Cactar. That guy's awesome.
And, you guys all admit, I got way too in. Obviously, we all did. Took a little hiatus over the past couple of months here and haven't had a show to follow up with Disc 2. But once I got through Disc 2, I mean, I immediately went into Disc 3. I was just way too interested and way too into it. So
it gets really cool.
I'm really excited to have that show, and I think both Disc 3 and then Disc 4 coming up too.
How long do we anticipate it's going to take us to get through the next disc?
I am ready to go into Disc 4, so...
It's Disc 3's not long. Well, there's that huge love scene with Squall and Rhino
there
out in
is,
space.
And I assume that once you're going to enter the final area, without me disclosing everything, that's when Disc 4 begins, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm pretty much up to that point. It's like another 10 hours.
Yeah, because if I remember, Disc 4 isn't long at all. Disc 4 is just like the end zone and then like huge cutscene.
It's very similar to Final Fantasy VII on Disc 4. It's just like, it's ready. Yeah. You're basically ready to go into the final battle.
We could do Disc 3 next week.
Easily.
Okay.
I could. How about you, Kevin?
I would probably not be able to, but I can try. Because Disc 3 is another farming disc for my playthrough.
It really is. Yep. There's a lot of extra side quests you can get, your airship and stuff like that.
Well, we'll figure it out. Okay. Actually, we do have an email about the show.
All right. Well, let's see it.
Let's see. Factory Sealed. If you want to email us, factorysealed@manatank.com. Let's see. Oh, we got a couple here.
Well, great.
Woo! All right. Duncan Pessell sent one in. Actually, I think he sent two. Anyway, he sent this a long time ago. He actually sent this for our first show, but I figured... Actually, he sent it after it. He says, "Hey, Factory Sealers..." I really enjoy the commentary on Final Fantasy VIII. As one who hasn't played it, I thought it was very informative. I thought the comparison to Dragon Age was spot on from what I've heard. Anywho, my question today is... Let's say Square Enix is looking to remake Final Fantasy VIII, but they're actually worried about their core fans and how they will react. So after looking around, they stumble upon your show and your Final Fantasy VIII special and decide to drop it in front of you, and they say, "Tell us what to do." What do you tell them? Do you change any of the core systems? Do you change the graphics from Final Fantasy 13.3 or whatever the newest one is? What, if any, changes do you make to this game that would make you happy as a Final Fantasy game?
Oh, great question.
What I would want them to do, and it would probably never happen, I would want them to keep the entire style of the game the same and just redo all of the art. Like all the background art, redo it, and that's it. Like no crisp animations, no nothing like that, just...
Or if they were to remake it, do exactly what Oddworld did with Abe's Odyssey New and Tasty. Don't add, don't change, don't modify, just completely remake it. If the animation looked like that in the first game, redo it exactly like that in this one. Exactly.
Yeah, and see, I guess I'll play devil's advocate here. You guys say keep everything the same. I think you keep the battle engine the same. I feel like you keep, the overall story the same. I mean, we obviously called out some places where we found some holes. Maybe that's a good time to fill in some of those holes. Give the players, a little, especially, Duncan was asking about the hardcore Final Fantasy fans. Maybe give some of those fans some closure, like of what exactly was going on. And, I just like how the new, like you look at PS4 and Xbox One. I just like all the updated graphics. I think it would be
so
cool
like what Kevin said.
To update everything, and I wouldn't even mind. You know how some of the major cutscenes look in Final Fantasy VIII. Mm-hmm. Maybe they can update the game to look like that all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So not necessarily completely overhaul, making it look like Final Fantasy 15 coming up, but just making it look maybe more like it's cutscenes.
But don't change any of the core dynamics. The only thing I would like to change is remove the limits for how much magic you can hold. Obviously, yes, still have 100, but since you can only have 8 pages of magic, I spend so much time dumping magic.
Oh yeah, I hate that too.
Yeah.
I would change
it's like, 100 stacks of fire 1, throw away.
The one thing I would request that they don't do is don't add voiceovers.
Yeah, I feel like that would
because up until 10, every Final Fantasy game, I have my own voice for that character in my head. And no matter what they put in there, it's not going to sound like what I expect them to sound like.
Irving, he's like the man. I got mine.
I got one more that they can do to make it better. Just a little thing at the end of the credits that said, Squall is not dead.
Any allusions to thereof are purely coincidental.
Yeah.
We have a lengthy one from Mark Marcheski. I think that's how you say it. Ahoy Factory Sealed Crew, I'm glad to see the continuation of Final Fantasy VIII. It's been a while since I finished it, but a couple years ago I was replaying it and had began taking notes of the story.
So 2 people have taken
Thank you. I appreciate it now more than I did as a kid. When it first came out, I had an odd moment of Eric's Tifa-like issue of renaming the character. I renamed Squall Zack because of the Final Fantasy VII character, but felt weird halfway in the game. Thankfully, I'm not scared to always think of him as Zack, though, these days. I'm loving that you guys have taken the time to do RPG playthroughs right now. When the Final Fantasy VI episode came out was when I first began to listen to you guys, so I've been excited for an episode of this nature since. That was a shit show, Kevin.
That was
fantastic. Lots of bourbon. I soon realized I went back and listened to all the episodes in order. That was an odd one to start on. Yes, it was. But at least I didn't start with the Toronto Batman episode. I saw him in a video game guitar cover video recently and was laughing remembering that podcast. But I'm excited to see various views on more fleshed out parts of the Final Fantasy VIII story and the future random game goodies to come. I was impressed by Jess and Erica finishing Suikoden, but it's something I've wanted to play for years. I've seen the second one. Then again, you guys didn't like Mother 3, which I'm not quite certain how that all played out. Yeah, we just stopped playing it because it turned into a bunch of pedophilia.
Oh, well, nice.
I thought it was just a shitty game. Like, story aside, the gameplay was just trash.
It was really bad. Anywho, as I love the return of the podcast, it also settled this vision I had of what was really going to happen to all of you after the summer update episode. All of this bizarre world where I imagine Eric spent his days playing with the PS4, then eventually trying to insist his child love Mega Man. Actually, that does happen. Aaron quit playing video games altogether to spend his time fishing and playing in old-timey baseball leagues with only occasional injuries involved. Jess would continue playing the most retro games as it would be all she could do as restaurants keep assaulting her with false gluten-free products. And Kevin, well, little would be known of Kevin. Some figured the ghost of his house would get him, but nobody would know. I like this guy.
That ghost is friendly.
No, he's not. That ghost is scary as shit. He hides balloons behind a deep freezer that doesn't work. Or I suppose you all being back with 2 new members is cool too. Both are good realities in my book. Well, I'm glad to see you all keeping up the good times. I know you did Rock and Roll Racing and Mutant League things in the past, but those collectively were my favorite. Ta-ta, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark.
So there was no question.
There was not. It was just a, we love you. Duncan.
Okay, I guess
Duncan has one more email. He says, "Hey guys, I hope you had great weeks this week. My question for today is, do you guys think it's okay to re-release games if they have a new feature that gives it the one up over the older version, like GTA 5 having first person mode? Keep on making what is old new again."
I don't really have a problem with newer games doing something like that. But I think I would be,
as long as it adds something.
Angry. Yeah, like I would be angry if they randomly decided to remake Final Fantasy VII and did it as the action RPG Final Fantasy 15 style, but kept the story the same.
But would you buy it?
No.
You wouldn't buy it. You'd just be like,
well, I would buy it and I would wipe my ass with it.
Come on. You wouldn't have the slightest curiosity. You'd just be like, you know what, I'll play this once through.
No.
I don't know.
That's too different.
Are you guys serious? You would see, and just to answer Duncan's question, I think it is worth it, and I think the GTA 5, with going from PS3 to PS4, they could add on the first person, and that's legit. But I don't know if they remade 7 or 8 or some of these classic games that are really special in our hearts. I would sure as hell buy it. I'd at least play it once through, and then I'll pass my opinion if it's shit or not. If it was shit, great.
I'm getting tired of the HD remasters of games. Like, did we really need a PS4 version of The Last of Us? Do we really need the PS4 version of Saints Row 4? Do we really need the remaster of DMC? No, we don't. They're pointless. Let those games live when they live. Like God of War 3. We're getting a PS4 update of God of War 3. For fuck's sake, let it lie, people.
That I agree with.
That's all we have for emails. If you want to write us an email, factoryseal@manatank.com. Kevin! Where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Dinner Dangles. Keep me above Eric's follower count.
Do you have? Oh, you have 991. You have 111 more than I do. You suck. You can find me at Honest Pizza. Derek, do you still use Twitter?
I do, but I'm also a physical therapist and athletic trainer and use it more for those professional reasons. So if you have any specific questions for me, gang, why don't you just hit up Eric?
Yeah. He can live vicariously through me.
I will live vicariously through.
What if we have fitness and personal training relating questions? Then can we hit you on Twitter?
Sure. Hit me up. Any injuries, aches, pains? You guys want some basic questions answered? Kevin, I don't know if I'll be able to help you with your government's health care because it'll take 8 months for you to go and see anybody anyway.
But he won't pay a dime.
But he won't pay a dime.
He may be dead by the time he gets seen.
I'm having a heart attack. Well, fuck.
We'll get you down for next Tuesday. How's that sound?
Next Tuesday would be fabulous.
Can you have a seat, sir? We have this other person who came in earlier
This
than
person
you,
has a splinter.
And she has a cut.
She has a cut.
Yes, she has a cut.
All right. Well, thanks for having me again, guys.
Yes,
I'm the
we
guest of the group, so.
are doing a show this Sunday with Jess and Dan. Back to the normal routine of Echo the Dolphin. And then maybe next week, shut up. That game sucks, and
That game's awesome. Don't fucking put words
I'm not
in my
looking
mouth.
forward to playing it. I hate Echo the Dolphin. But maybe
I played that game for probably 6 hours, and I don't think I made it past the first screen because all I did was just swim really, really deep and
Jump out
then
of the water.
see how high I could jump out of the water.
that's going to do it for the show. Hopefully we'll see you back next week or the week after with Disc 3. Until next time, bye-bye.